Okay. Okay, so today we're going to learn a beautiful lesson on the Parsha, and the Parsha connected perfectly to the 15th chapter of Tanya. We're up to the 14th chapter of Tanya, so I'm going to try to do the 14th chapter of Tanya, the 15th chapter of Tanya, and the teaching on the Parsha. Okay, so.
Wait a second, you just got a mouthful. I'm sorry, I have to interrupt, right?
Yeah. Okay, no problem. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so just to recap, chapter 1 of Tanya, we spoke about Tzaddik, Rasha, Beinonim. We were introduced to these terms. You don't really know exactly what they are. Chapter 1, we also are introduced to the first soul, the animal soul. Chapter 2, we're introduced to the godly soul. Chapter 3 is the components of the godly soul. Chapter 4 is the clothing of the garments of the godly soul. Chapter 5 is the food of the godly soul, which is Torah. Chapter 6 is we take everything that we learned and we flip it around for the animal soul. The animal soul's components and garments. Chapter 7 and 8 is holiness and unholiness throughout the world around us. So chapter 6 is what the holiness and unholiness inside of us, or the unholiness inside of us, the animal soul inside of us, is how we see that play out in the world around us. Chapter 9, we speak about the Mashal of the city. The two kings are trying to conquer the city. Chapter 10, we speak about the tzaddik, two types of tzaddik. Chapter 11, we speak about the Rasha, two types of Rasha. 12, 13, 14, 15 is all about the Beinonim. So we already did 12 and 13. We're going to say what's new in chapter 14 that we didn't speak about before, and then we're going to move on to chapter 15, because we're talking about Sefer Shel Beinonim. The whole goal of the Tanya is how we should become a Beinonim. So the new thing in chapter 14, which we did to touch upon, is this concept that a Beinonim could serve Hashem and do all the mitzvahs and do what he's supposed to do, even if he doesn't feel like it. If he doesn't feel like it, he doesn't want to, he still can do it. And this is something that is attainable. What the Beinonim accomplishes is something that's attainable by every single person. And I was listening to Rabbi Shei's Tav, and I remember hearing it when we heard it the first time, so it might seem familiar to those that were here in the beginning, but he gives an analogy. He says, think of a food that you don't like, or that you really don't like. It has to be something that you don't like it, not because you're allergic to it, and not because your doctor said that you can't have it, and not because it's not kosher, but something else. Is there anyone here that really dislikes a certain type of food? Okay.
Liver. I talked about the same thing, especially bakal.
Okay.
Beef liver, I don't like. But chicken, I'm fine.
What'd you say? Liver.
Liver.
Okay, so let's take liver. I never tasted it, so I wouldn't know. Liver.
But beef liver, I love the chicken one, not the beef. Right.
Yeah. Okay. So if I told you we're going to make a bet, okay, $1 million bet. There's 3 different bets, and you're going to tell me which bet is best for you and which is worst for you. Bet number 1 is that right now I'm going to give you a bowl of liver, and you're going to eat it, and you're going to love it. You're going to say that you're going to love it, and we're going to even have a lie detector test. We're going to ask you a bunch of questions, and you're not going to be able to lie. You're just going to have to like change your feeling towards the liver, and all of a sudden you have to love it. If you're able to accomplish this, then I give you $1 million. If you can't, all of a sudden love the liver, then you give me $1 million. That's bet number 1. Bet number 2 is that every single day for the next year, 365 days, except for a fast day, you have to eat 1 ounce of liver. If you do it every single day, you don't. And if you can't, it's not like if you get to the 364th day and you feel like you can't do the 365th day, then you're out. But if you manage for 365 days to eat 1 ounce of liver every single day, then I'll give you $1 million. If not, you give me $1 million. And third option is that right now we're not going to do anything, but in 1 year from now, you need to love liver. And we're going to have a lie detector test that if you actually love liver or not. You could do whatever you want during this year to get yourself to love liver. If you manage by the end of the year, then I give you $1 million. If not, you give me $1 million. Then you give me $1 million. Which bet do you think is easiest for you to take, to accept? Because the stakes are high here. Which bet would you be willing to try? Which for sure not, which for sure yes. What do you think?
For sure not the first.
Okay.
I'm debating between the second and the third.
Okay.
For sure not the second for me. The last one is my last. Look at for me. I like the idea of waiting a year and that kind of thing.
Okay, but would you be willing to right now to come to that we're gonna bet $1 million that within a year you're gonna love it? Okay, that's pretty good. That's pretty
good.
Yes, amazing. Okay, so let's see. What's the difference between what's the difference here? Bet number 2, which is just to eat the liver every single day. I'm sure even if you hate it, right? But it's an action. I could eat it every single day and hate it, but you're not asking me to change my emotion. You're just asking me to change my to do this action. By bet number 1, which is change your emotion now, or bet number 3, change your emotion in a year, is a much harder thing to do. And for someone who's ready to bet on it, they have to really be on a level where they could truly change how they feel about this thing. So in chapter 14, we're answering a question that we asked in chapter 1. In chapter 1, it says, Tanya, we make him swear, Tihi tzaddik ba'alti rasha. Be a tzaddik and don't be a rasha. If I tell you be a tzaddik, then obviously don't be a rasha. Like, why do we have to repeat it? So what is ultimately the definition of a tzaddik? A tzaddik is someone who has perfect emotions. That means that he only loves what Hashem loves, and he hates whatever Hashem hates. His emotions are aligned with his behaviors. By a Beinoni, we don't expect emotions from a Beinoni. It doesn't matter if you love to do this mitzvah or if you hate to do this mitzvah. We're not asking you about that. We're just asking you in thought, speech, and action to do the right thing, think the right thing, say the right words. That's all we're asking of you. So by a Beinoni, at this point in the service of Hashem, in the beginning, the behavior and the emotion are not necessarily aligned with each other. It's called white knuckling. You're forcing yourself. You're forcing yourself with all your might to do the right thing, even though you really, really don't want to. And we'll see that it's not sustainable. That's why we're going to need more tools. This is what we start with. We start with it's easier to have behavior control than perhaps to act in the right way than to actually feel it. It's easier to do the mitzvah than to actually love to do the mitzvah. So we start with behavioral perfection.
Like the burn.
Exactly. We're going to talk about the burn. We're going to talk about that. In chapter 15, we talk about that. She's talking about like the burn when you do exercise. If you don't feel anything, if you don't feel anything, then you're not really accomplishing much. When you have to. So the personal trainer will tell you, you did 10 push-ups, you don't feel anything, do an 11th push-up until you feel it. But we're going to discuss that in a few minutes. But so in Parak Yudal, the 14th Parak of Tanya, we learn Tihi tzaddik. We're answering this question. We're asking you. You make a promise. Be a tzaddik, meaning that you are obligated to try. Ultimately, you're obligated to try that your emotions should be in sync with your behavior. That you shouldn't just daven because you have to daven, but you should daven because you want to daven. That's what that's ultimate. That's basically what a tzaddik is. So Hashem knows in advance that very few people will actually reach a level where their emotions are 100% in sync with their actions. So it's not something that we are obligated to attain. It's not something that will necessarily succeed in attaining, but we have to at least try. When I say Tihi Tzaddik, try, at least sometimes. At least try. You might not succeed. You may never succeed. At least try at least try to enjoy the mitzvah, to love the mitzvah, to have passion for the mitzvah. And when you do, that's a tzaddik moment. When your emotion and your action are on the same page, that's a tzaddik moment. Now, Hashem knows that it's basically impossible for a Beinonim, for a person that his emotions should always be in line with his actions. So we're saying at least be tzaddik, the alti rasha. If you can't be a tzaddik, if you can't always have perfection with your emotions, then at least then at least don't be a rasha, meaning be a Beinonim. At least you should have perfect behavior. So to summarize chapter 14, anyone could be a Beinonim. A Beinonim means perfection in thought, speech, and action. We are obligated to try that our emotions should reflect our actions, that the inside and the outside should be the same. We're supposed to try for that, but even if we will never succeed, it's still okay. And in the future chapters of Tanya, we will get tools for how to try to get our emotions to be in line with our actions, because white knuckling could only work for a certain amount of time. If you're forcing yourself to do the right thing, it's not sustainable. So therefore, after chapter 14 of Tanya, you come, the Alter Rebbe says, okay, how are you feeling? You're doing everything that the Alter Rebbe suggests. It's like a personal audience with Alter Rebbe. You're doing everything that the Alter Rebbe suggests. Now you come to this chapter 14, you're implementing everything that you're told to implement, and the Alter Rebbe says, how are you feeling? You say, listen, I attain perfection in my thought, speech, and action, but how am I feeling? I'm struggling. I'm feeling, I'm not okay inside because I'm forcing myself. And then the Alter Rebbe is gonna lead you and teach you tools for how to. There's two things that we could do to get our emotions in check. That our emotions should be on the same page as our actions. Number one, it's all meditation. So either you could meditate to create emotion, or if you can't meditate to create a new emotion, at least meditate to reveal emotion that you already possess.
Cool.
So 17 and 18 is going to be how to reveal your inner love and fear of Hashem that you have, and chapters 8 and then 19 to 25 is gonna no, the other way around. Chapter 17 and 18 is going to teach you how to meditate to to create new emotion, I think. That's what I said. And then 18 to 25 is how to reveal the hidden stuff.
I mean, I don't know. So I don't know what, but I don't have a clue. So I believe you.
Okay, that's what I think. That's what I think. Right. So yeah. So there's a longer, shorter way and a shorter, longer way. So the longer way. The shorter way is what we have inside. It's like an emergency. Is an emergency, break the glass. You know, so the emergency one is the hidden love and fear that you have. But ultimately, what we're trying to do is to create, generate, meditate to create new emotion, because our behavior all comes from our emotion. When you're very passionate about something, then that will lead you to do something. So we have to create emotion. You have to meditate, because emotion comes from thought. We have to meditate to create emotion, and that emotion leads to action.
Are we gonna practice the meditation in front?
So it's not that kind of meditation. It's not like
Just like take like 2 minutes and then you tell us what to focus on or something?
yeah. So I'm a little bit rusty because I haven't reviewed it in a while. But it tells you how. It gives you tools. It tells you how. It's not like, meditate on this phrase. It will tell you. It will, and also it's individual also. But you know what I'm saying? It's not like
Maybe there was specific rules.
yeah. It's not like affirmations. Say these 2 lines. It's
Meditation is not affirmation, but maybe it does say, I don't know, I'm not familiar. I'm hearing it for the first time that Tanya does meditations. I'm fascinated.
I think
Wow.
for me, because like my first time experiencing that, was I created the structure of what I'm not a creative person, but how to get creative in my mind. It's really cool because it gave a framework of how to meditate on individual reasons. My personal mind.
Right. It's a framework. It's not like
You're teaching this class or what?
yeah, we're gonna learn it. So yeah, Mirza Hashem.
But is this meditation
Which we
like
can-
with you do on yoga, I did for a long time yoga. So you sit quiet and then you think, oh, I'm on the beach and see everything and stay there. Is that something like that?
It's not like yoga.
No,
it's
it's
not. No.
So what I'm saying is,
Yeah.
like, if you teach it to us practically, whatever the steps are, I mean, I don't remember, honestly, I don't remember, I've read it through it, but I don't remember it. Can we get like a short experiential period in class, like 2 minutes? And like, let's
Oh,
try the
absolutely,
steps.
absolutely,
I love
You know,
that.
because
absolutely,
I
Yeah.
didn't make.
That-
time
Make
to
it
do
practical.
we can get-
absolutely, absolutely.
I got you, girl. I know you.
We
got
put-
the skills.
we
She
put-
gets it.
We put some
Oh, yeah.
nice
Oh, yeah.
music.
Yeah. No, my daughter.
Which week is it? I need to
I
know
know.
which week.
I know. Yeah, it's coming out. It's the next thing we're doing. But
Next week? Okay.
my daughter on the way to the hospital, she had to stop in Walgreens to print out affirmations.
Oh.
I said, Mushka, I said, all affirmations are gonna go out the window. They're going to the hospital, and my son-in-law was like, we have to stop in Walgreens. So my husband's like, what are you doing in Walgreens? Just go. No, but I'm saying is I tried to ask her if the affirmations really help, but I told her, I said, the affirmations help to certain point. But the affirmation.
That's so good. Like get you in, you get into a certain state, and yeah, I mean, every
Up to
person.
some point.
Yeah,
It was totally different than the books. When the plane starts, you forget about those affirmations.
Exactly. When it's not even called.
Right.
Was it Sarah Kramer?
You are not in control.
I don't see that.
So one of this was a song. This was a song. I only know 2 lines of it because she was singing it. It's I accept how Hashem wants it to be, and I trust that it must be designed with love for me. Whatever. That's just 2 lines of it. But I'm saying it's helpful, But yeah, that was that. So anyway, yeah, Mirza Hashem, we'll get to those chapters very, very soon, and we'll
do it
work
together.
on it. Yeah. Okay, so now we're gonna go on to chapter 15. Chapter 15 says there are 2 types of Beinonim. Just like we said, there's 2 types of tzaddik, 2 types of rasha. There's 2 types of Beinonim. One type of Beinonim is serves Hashem, and one type of Beinonim does not serve Hashem. Isn't serving. And you say, what do you mean? What's going on here? Service is effort. Hashem wants that we should constantly be putting in effort, constantly be working, constantly be serving. That we shouldn't just stay status quo. We shouldn't just stay in a certain plane. But Hashem wants to see us constantly moving and constantly working and striving and growing. So there could be a person that he was born with an animal, when it comes to training pets. There are some pets that are very easy to train or very obedient, And then there are some pets, they can even bring them to some training school, and the training school say, sorry, go somewhere else, we can't help you. Right? So I wouldn't know, but I could imagine.
Yes.
Some people are born with an animal soul. It's an animal that's very easy to tame. It's a very obedient animal soul. So the animal soul, you tell it to do this, tell it to that, it listens. It's not a fighter. So a person is born with a very obedient animal soul, and all he needs is perfection in thought, speech, and action. So he perfects his thought, speech, and action, and he's good to go. On a daily basis, there's no struggle. So yes, he has perfection in thought, speech, and action, but there is no struggle. So
not serving Hashem, but he's doing everything that Hashem wants to do.
Right, he's doing everything that Hashem wants him to do. So what's expected from him? I'm going to tell you in a second, but let me just contrast that to another kind of Beinoni who's considered serving. Who's considered serving. A servant is a tzaddik. A tzaddik is a servant. That's who he is. He is a servant. Serving is what you do. And a Beinoni is serving, that means in thought, speech, and action, he's constantly working and putting in effort to serve Hashem. It's a verb. It's a verb versus a noun. Eved, a noun, that's a tzaddik. Serving, if you're working, that's a Beinoni. A tzaddik doesn't have to work. Tzaddik is not working. There's no enemy. The enemy is gone. The enemy is transformed or completely nullified. The enemy is a non-issue. While the Beinoni is constantly fighting with his enemy. He'll always win, but he can't let down guard for a second. Think of Israel and the Middle East, right? They say if the Middle East will put down their arms, there'll be peace in the Middle East. But if the Arabs will put down their arms, then there'd be peace in the Middle East. If the Israel will put down their arms, there'd be no Israel, right? So you have the Beinoni constantly, he's going to win. The Israelis, Baruch Hashem, are strong, but you can't put down your guard for a second. No. That's a Beinoni. You're constantly fighting out. If you're this kind of Beinoni that doesn't have to struggle, then there's something lacking. There's something lacking because Hashem, there's virtue to the struggle. Hashem wants.
For example, who's that kind of person? Like someone's just like depressed or something?
No, I know. So I have a brother like that. He was just a born tzaddik. I don't know.
I don't know anyone.
He best of the week, and he's very Hasidish, and he has a bunch of kids, and he's a very ehrlich. He learned for years, and he's just a good person. He's just a vayla. I don't know. He's like he's like
You're born with that.
Like a goody.
Born with that.
Yeah. That's the way they're born.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
They were born with that.
So we expect something from him. I'm going to tell you what we expect from him.
Yeah,
okay. So Rabbi Sheistal, this is a nerd. That's what a nerd. So they say, what? And so one of the ladies pipes up and says, no, a nerd is also very passionate. No. They're passionate about their nerdy things.
Right.
So someone else said goody, he accepted that. Goody. Okay. So the thing is, every person has to figure out what is their ceiling. Where's your limit? And then push beyond that. So if you're a goody, you're just born that way. So everyone has a limit of until this is where I draw the line. This up until here, I could learn Torah for 10 hours a day. But 10 hours, that's my limit. 10 hours and 1 minute, that's beyond what I'm used to. That's beyond my nature. Find where it hurts. Find the burn. If there is no burn, then there's something lacking. And he brings two examples. In chapter 15 of Tanya, there's two examples that are brought. The time of the Gemara, the time of the Mishnah, I guess it's the time of the Mishnah, before the oral Torah was written down, like we have it today, every student had to learn each thing 100 times in order to retain it to memory because it wasn't written down. So 100 times was normal. Today, if you read something twice, you're already, It's already like, wow. Yeah. But then, okay. So if you 100 times, every 5-year-old studied every Pasuk Chumash 100 times. It wasn't a question. 101. That's that is an oived, someone who's working, someone who's putting in effort, going beyond what's regular. That's someone who learns 101 times. Now, the one extra time that you learn, believe it or not, is equal to the 100 times that you learned previously, even though it's just one more time. Because you went above your nature.
Mhm.
There's a story, Rabbi Burston, he was years ago, he had these tapes. He was an amazing teacher in Alter Rebbe. And he said there was it's a Mashal, obviously. There was a contest for musicians. And everyone played their music and everything was sounding so beautiful. But a little boy was curious. He wanted to interview the winner. So he goes to the winner and he says, tell me, what's your secret? How did you win this competition? Everyone played so beautifully. So he said, I practiced and practiced until I couldn't practice it. So everyone else said, I practiced and practiced until I couldn't practice anymore. And then I stopped. And the one who won said, I practiced and practiced until I couldn't practice anymore. And then I practiced one more time. So that's what it means to serve Hashem, to go beyond what your nature, to go beyond the ceiling, to push a little bit more. Yeah.
Wow. I really have 2 questions, but I don't know. How do you know, let's say in service of Hashem, how do you know what your ceiling is? How do you know your ceiling in service of Hashem?
So reflect on what you're doing.
What you're doing every day.
What do you mean, like when I start to get tired, or how do
So
I?
what's example? You're being abstract.
Okay, I'm being abstract. Okay. You want an example for what it means to go beyond what you're used to. Okay, I'm gonna give you 2 examples because the Sicha, the teaching of the Parsha, speaks about this example. So I was having trouble understanding it. So I asked my husband for an example, which he gave, but I still didn't accept it, whatever. And then I read something. I was like, okay, so I'll explain to you. I'm jumping the gun. Let's talk about it for a few minutes. Okay. So this is not so much my avodas Hashem, like my davening and my learning and my mitzvahs, but I'm just going to give some, an example. A person has 3 children. They feel that's enough. Whatever, their plate's full, and then they go and have one more child. You reach your limit. You feel like I can't do it. And then you go beyond what you think you could do. That was what that was exactly my husband gave. I didn't really like it. But then I was reading.
But I think it's a real thing because you have your family and then you really think like, you know what, why did I say that? Maybe I'm meant to have more kids. Maybe I have a different goal, and people do have, you see it sometimes, and it was choice, not,
Think of something. Think of the last time you said, I can't. I'll tell you what, I remember very, very vividly when I said, I can't. I was giving birth. And the doctor says, push. And I said, I can't. And he says, yes, you could. I wanted to slap him across his face, right? But at that point, when you say, I can't, and then at that point, you really have no choice. You know what I'm saying? But when you feel, I can't do this, I can't, fill in the blank in your life.
I think I have Monday example.
Okay.
Just last night, my daughter, you read a book, one of those things. I said, okay, fine. And then she's like, can you read? I need another. I'm like, no patience. But I was like, 5 minutes of a book is gonna make all the difference. Like, I had no patience, but you do it, and it's like, push myself. Like, don't even think about it. Like you do it, and it's like, I think when it comes to like small things like that, it builds the muscle more.
Absolutely.
Little things that I just don't. Like, okay, I could have been like I read your book, go to sleep, da, 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 da. But I'm like, you know something? What's 5 minutes of her going to bed later? I know I want it to be done, but like, you know what? It was worth it.
I think also gives you a good tinkle inside, like after you do that, there's an opening and expansion in the body. Just saying, I wonder if you notice that.
No, I think.
But there is.
For me, it's working on my patience, because I'm like, when I'm done at bedtime, I need to.
Right.
Finish.
I'm just wondering if you
But I
can
thought
take it to the
something-
next step, the next law.
Maybe
I
it
just
will,
feel
maybe
like,
it will bring it.
yeah,
Bring it that answer, but I just feel like when you work on
That's
my
really
patience, like, I can do this, like, what's 5 minutes of your time, you know?
Or I think it's also each person has their individual thing. Like
Yeah.
I pick up my niece's kids on Fridays. And now this Friday, I'm like, I really don't want to do it. And my husband goes, do what you want to do. So then I go down, I go, this is my chesed for the week. So why am I taking it away from myself? You know, whatever it was. And then I called to ask if they want to come, and oh, we're going away for Shabbos. I'm like,
Yeah.
I got the point. You really also, but I did realize that if my chesed for the week is on Friday and it's inconveniencing myself, that's what it is. That's what it is. Otherwise, I don't want to say that it's not a chesed, but you know, it's not.
I think when you
anything.
took yourself, like, I shouldn't know what you do, and like, to give you freedom, because you did it and you have to actually have to do it, like. But
Right.
that's the beauty of it, when you like push yourself to that like point of like, I'm gonna do it anyway.
They
Like
really
Hashem said,
decided.
no problem, I'll give you the time you need, still push, you still stretch that muscle.
Right.
It's the work inside that ends up happening, regardless of like what it actually manifests into.
Right, yeah, I like the bedtime example, I definitely resonate.
Right, I just like, like something little yesterday, I feel like in this, when it comes to this learning and Tanya, like, it's those things that like, you just don't wanna like, but because it's your animal.
All
I
these
wanna do
things,
it.
we have it throughout the day, multiple times.
Yeah.
that We
Yeah, it's like-
have the choice of stretching ourselves.
Stretching.
Yeah, it's like that little stretches.
I've had sleep apnea. And I use that stupid mask forever. And one day I decided, that's it, I'm not doing it. I can't do it anymore. I can't sleep with that in my face with the water. And, last week I was getting up and I'm coughing and I'm, you know.
Exactly.
So I went to the doctor, he said, you gotta put that, you gotta get the mask on tomorrow. I called my insurance and they're gonna give me the mask again.
I'm sorry.
Now, am I supposed to change my feeling about?
That's a tzaddik. To change your feeling about it, it's a tzaddik.
You know, it's like,
Meditate about it, it's going to save your life.
Yeah.
Okay, passes won't be here. Like,
Oh, I got it from my daughter, for half hour.
even I remember,
There is something, so once you realize where your point is, then you push it down a little bit. Where's the point where you, before you get to burnout? Because then there are some people that burn out completely.
every
And
person is different.
Then back to square one.
Excellent
person is
question,
different.
excellent question. We're gonna hold it. We're gonna talk about it when we speak about the Parsha. Amazing,
So-
amazing question. You know what? Yeah, I could give you an answer right now, and that is that our goal in our life is not just to get brownie points and to get Gan Eden. Because if it was, then if I'm then this Beinonim who's perfect in thought, speech, and action, why mess with something why mess with something? Why should there's a person when thought, speech, and action, everything is perfect, right? And he's not doing any effort. So you tell him, go whatever your ceiling is, you learn for 10 hours, learn for 10 hours and 1 minute. Why mess with it? Leave the guy alone. Leave the guy alone, because as soon as you push him, right, then he could burn out. Then and then what do you open? Don't mess with it. Don't touch it. It's perfect. Don't touch it. If it's about my Gan Eden, my brownie points, then you're right. Don't risk it. Don't risk it. But it's not about me and how holy and great I am, but rather it's about serving Hashem. So when it comes to serving Hashem, I don't want to just give him my behaviors. I want to give him whatever I can. If I could give him some of my heart or more of my heart, then I want to give him more of my heart. Imagine if the husband says, he's doing something for his wife, and he says, I'm doing this. Do I also have to like it? Do I also have to like it? But okay, so taking out the garbage, okay, it's one thing. But if, let's say, you're a writer, okay, and you spent days, weeks, months, years, I don't know, writing a masterpiece, and then you tell your husband, I want you to read it. I want you to read it. Now, he could read it because you asked him to read it, but he really doesn't want to. He has no patience for writing. He has no patience for, it doesn't interest him. Mm-hmm. But that's hurtful. You want him to appreciate your writing. So you could say, you want me to read? I'll read it. Okay, I read it. That's an action. So if we're just giving Hashem our behaviors, right? We don't want to think about what would happen if Tanya would stop. If Tanya would stop by chapter 14, just force yourself to have the right thought, speech, and action, and that's it. No, it's not sustainable. It's not sustainable. But because to force yourself, that's what we want. We want to give Hashem more than just our behavior. We also want to give Hashem our heart. We also want to like what Hashem likes. We want to hate what Hashem hates.
Oh, that's the meditation part. So when your mind is aligned with your heart, then you want to do that's when you don't burn out. Is that what you're saying? The mindset. Absolutely. There you go. My mindset, I'm the basis that Hashem is my way of living.
An alignment.
I don't burn out.
Perfect.
An alignment.
Perfect.
It's like questions.
Yeah.
It's not such a, like, it doesn't have to be a whole deep thing. That's really what comes up in your day. That's where you can push yourself. Life decisions are also, but every day, I feel like we shouldn't spend a whole day, and you know, to take it how you want it. But that's where the choice is.
Right, but even if you're forcing yourself, so if I'm forcing myself all day in little tiny things, I could also burn out unless my mindset is aligned and my
It's true, that's easy to get burned
right, so I
out.
could still burn out even though I'm only doing it by bedtime, I'm only doing business, and it's like these tiny little things that could add up.
100%.
Or life in general, you can burn out.
Yeah, right, absolutely.
Serving your inaction, it's not, yes, you could fail, maybe I messed up, I spraying, whatever, yeah, that can happen throughout your day, but you're supposed to serve Hashem, because you recognize it and you move forward, and you go to the next thing. So like, you are in action serving Hashem throughout the day.
Or even this thing that I say, I go to pick up my 6 kids. So now they're ready. I feel the connection they have to me is warm and different. They look forward, or we do more creative things. If the summer it's the pool, winter it's going to 5 below. You just think of different things, because in anything you do, you can get burned out. And being a mother, you can get burned out, and having the same job for X amount of years, you get burned out. Dealing with the difficulty in certain kids' personalities, and like anything, life.
Yeah, actually, I think I have a really good example in my mind. My daughter's going to this camp. She's going to the camp for the first time, and there's a security guard there. Today he was dressed up. He had on a clown hat, and he hands the kids out like light up rings. And every time I see him, he's smiling and he's dressed up and he's in the. He doesn't have to. He's a security guard. Like those people that you see that they love what they do. He's a security guard. He loves what he does. I actually remember thinking like, wow, I wish my daughter's school had security guards like that. Like he just makes it fun and lively, and he greets everyone good morning with the kids and he's smiling. And it's like he's all aligned. He's not just doing a job. It's like for him, he's in it. He's aligned. His mindset, his feelings, how he feels about it. You see it and how he dresses and how he interacts. So that's how hopefully he doesn't burn out. He's doing a great job.
Right. So ultimately,
And because he loves what he's doing, he has passion. Yes, he has the passion.
And she welcomes the kids every single day.
You can still be aligned, or still have burnout, just saying.
So to answer that question is that it's worth taking the risk of pushing yourself, even if you won't always pass the test, because it's about stretching. And even if I fail, that failure is a descent. It's a descent for the purpose of an ascent.
Oh, Joe Newcomb, that's all good.
So I was perfect.
It depends how you define failure. Also.
Good
Right,
question.
right.
Everyone does differently. It's true.
There is no failure if you keep going.
What'd you say? There's no failure?
If you keep trying.
Nice.
At least you try. Better to try than fail than
Right.
never try at all.
And
I
Leslie,
think
you
you
figured
make
something first,
Then
Uh-huh.
yeah, try.
You
Do something
say-
first and
Because sometimes people would not even.
And then you have to shuva, and then you can grow from that, and you could ultimately.
do again.
Right.
That's
Be more familiar.
Right.
Okay, so a feeling that I'm a little less because I made a mistake, because I failed.
I think when you look at it this way, it's like I failed,
Right.
you're not gonna wrong.
At least you have to try. That's very
That's
positive.
something I have to work on, but I don't feel guilty about it.
What if burnout is normal? Like, who says, depends how you view it, it's a perspective. Burnout could be just like, okay, I need to like, right, I need a break. Maybe
Then it's
that's
good.
a
You're in
sign.
tune with yourself. Then it's good because you're in tune with yourself.
You know what? If you throw me a dart, maybe.
Okay, so wait till we talk about the parsha.
So what's wrong with that? If you take a break, you burn out, you realize that, you take a break, you come back to it. You take a break when you feel burned out.
You're break.
And it could be different break.
Okay,
It could be
I'm just gonna
Right?
foreshadow
Yeah.
what the teaching is gonna, what the parsha is gonna say. If you feel burnout, you
Uh-huh.
know what you need to do?
Take a walk.
You know what you need to do? Forget about taking a walk. You need to take a leap.
A leap,
Both
exactly.
feet off that step, and you have to jump
Jump
to a
over.
higher level.
Higher level.
You have to. It's not. You can never. If you could never stay
To a
in one
higher
place.
level.
That's the whole point. The point is that we always have to go to a higher level.
Yes.
If this, try something new. Try
Exactly.
something new.
Wow.
Go higher. Go
amazing.
beyond what you think you can do. Try something.
Mhm.
Push yourself further. Find some another.
True.
Another niche. Something
That's
else.
what happened to my daughter. You know what happened to my daughter just lately? Okay. She was doing very well. Finally, she found the job she loves. All of a sudden, came from nowhere. A person that said, "Listen, Annette, I want you to come to work for me." Now, that person works with my son, Jonathan. And just for a little bit that he talked to Annette, he realized, I don't know, he had a vision about her. I guess with her background, with her talent and all that. But she said to him, "Listen, but I love what I do. Finally, I love what I do." And then she talks to me and I said, "Annette, I understand your fear." She has a fear to let go of something that she loved, and she's doing well, and she just got a raise, and now going to something of unknown. She has no clue about PR or about what he wants her to do, to something so vague. So I said to her, "Annette, I understand, but think about it. If you're not going even to try, there is God send him, okay? You didn't pursue that. He pursued you. He came to you. He sees something that you don't believe in yourself, but he saw something." I said, "At least you have to try. I feel that it's God sent him for you." And it's finally one time that somebody reach out to you. You want to move up, but there is blocks. There is this, that you cannot do this, you cannot do that. Finally, someone is reaching out to you that sees something you don't see. You don't even believe you could do it. Guess what? It was battle, I would say, of 3 weeks. Back and forth. What do you think I should do? She doesn't know what to do. I told her, "Listen, you are the last decision to make, but what I need to tell you from my experience, are you going to move up? Yes. Is that something you don't know? Some you know, some not, but at least you experience." I said to her, "One day, let's say you don't take it. One day, a couple years from now, you will sit and you would say, I had opportunity and I didn't take it, and you will be mad. Now it's gone. What would you do?" I said, "For that reason, take it and see what happens. Always you can quit. Always you could say, it's not for me, at least I tried." And guess what? She got it. She loves it. And she jumped. She moved to something of very hard for her, of the unknown, and something that she didn't have experience before. One part of the job, the other part, she has a lot of experience. But she did it for her self-esteem. It's huge that she was able to combat and move up. And I hope it will be a milestone for her. Who knows? But for her to get to that level. And think about it, she just doesn't ask me or my husband only, the brothers, then the friends. Then I said, why do you need to involve so many people and then you make your decision? Because you'll be so confused. Everyone would not see. I said to her, listen, parents knows you're in and out. We know your strength, your weaknesses, and what you can and cannot. Friends don't see what we see.
It's human nature, really.
It's human
It
nature. I
is,
said to her at the end, I said, but listen, it's your decision. You need to be comfortable with your decision because you don't come and blame me. I said to her, you cannot come and blame me. You cannot blame your brother that told you maybe not to take it for whatever reason, because one day you will regret, and what? It's your decision. It's his opinion. But I'm happy she took it and she's so happy, you know. Yes, so it just show you, you know, you have to go.
Classic example.
Yeah.
So when you jump, can you jump more?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Jump more.
You can keep on going.
Absolutely. Okay, so we're going to talk about that in a minute, but I just want to bring one more example, which is you know, we've gone into a whole philosophical, you know, conversation about it, but I just want to bring it out because I think it's important, and that is the question about the Holocaust. How could the Holocaust happen, right? So many people ask that question. Many people use that as an excuse, say, oh, if God could let that happen, then therefore I don't have to be religious or do anything or believe, blah, blah, blah. So I was reading this book, and Rabbi Slavatitsky, it's written by Rabbi Slavatitsky, and it's different farbrengens that he, different times, occasions that he spoke. It's a Hebrew book. The Rabbi Slavatitsky is the name of the rabbi, Rabbi Slavatitsky from Antwerp, Belgium. And he says that he was a teenager, and there was a family member that was a Holocaust survivor that came to his home and was recounting and telling the stories and everything that he had been through. So this was the first time that he saw his parents crying. And this teenage boy, Rabbi Slavatitsky, turned to his relative and he said, during the Holocaust, did you have faith in God?
Wow.
So the relative said to him, only people that went through the Holocaust can truly have faith in God. What did he mean by that? Regular people like us, yeah, we face challenges here and there. Yeah, we missed the bus, we missed the train, whatever it is, we missed the plane. But in our heads, we can somehow convince ourselves that we may not understand every single thing that happens and why sometimes, you know, there are things that happen that we don't understand. But in our minds, we're able to understand that we're able to tell ourselves that we believe in Hashem, and if we missed the bus, then there must have been a reason. Maybe there was someone that we weren't supposed to meet. Maybe there was someone that we were supposed to meet, and therefore we have to miss the bus, whatever it is. We're able to somehow rationalize what happened. And even if we don't, sometimes we actually see clearly why, yes, we see the divine providence. And then if we don't see divine providence, we have enough from other occasions and other times, we have enough in the bank that we're able to justify and say, listen, Hashem must have had a reason, or, you know, we're able to deal with it. But sometimes there comes things that happen that cannot be explained. There's no way in the world that you could explain a death of a very young child, or a young mother, or a terrible tragedy, or a Holocaust. There are some things that, as much as you try, there's no way they could say, they could convince yourself that there's some things.
No.
There's no way,
Only
there's
God
no
knows.
justification that you could even try to, right, something like that. When a person is faced with such a challenge, right? All of a sudden, their emunah is not like the emunah of the rest of us. They have to go out of their limitation of where the emunah was up until now. This was my ceiling. My emunah, this is my brain. My emunah, it fits into my brain. I believe in Hashem. It makes sense in my brain. Wonderful. All of a sudden, you come to a situation, a Holocaust, where this person, this individual, Rabbi Slavatitsky's relative, he lost every single member of his family. When you come to when a person is facing such a tragedy, or when it comes to a situation where there is no logical explanation whatsoever that anyone in the world could find, right? And then your amuna has to break through. It's you reach a level that's a amuna that's above logic. It doesn't fit into your brain.
Right.
So he said,
The only thing you have is Amuna. Literally, he had no family, he had nothing.
But then his amuna went through the ceiling. He had to attain a real level of amuna, because the amuna that he had until now was limited. It made sense to him. It made sense. Okay, fine. You know, a mother is giving birth. She's screaming. She's in a lot of pain, or whatever it is. But you know, ultimately, you could explain it. There's a baby. There's something good coming out of it, or whatever it is. When you come to a thing, when you see pain, and there's no purpose, you can't find any purpose in it whatsoever. Then such a person, the amuna the level of amuna that he attains, when flying through the ceiling, it went way above, way above any kind of amuna that he ever had before, because he was not able to process it in his brain anymore, and therefore this individual said only someone who went through the Holocaust could really have amuna in Hashem.
Could really have, because many people don't.
So now,
Or
if you don't,
lost their emunah.
They did, meaning like.
Right. They lost their emunah.
Atheist says, God, help me out here, you know, and then they still think they're an atheist. So probably at the time.
Right, they did have.
So huge,
Right.
it's like Hashem, help us out here. And once they survived, they just realized, whatever reasons, they just couldn't.
or
They took their logic and they felt like, how do you do something that's so unrealistic?
Right.
And
Or
why-
it's not an amuna, they know.
Yeah.
that Hashem-
I just want to finish my thought.
Just-
Yeah, that's true too.
Okay.
And he helped some
That's true
guy
too.
write some
Feel
books.
anger
You see it?
to God.
This
Yeah,
artist,
right.
They
It's true.
were looking for artists for them to illustrate these books, maybe in Germany. And then there was an artist who would draw like the shtetl and whatever it is. He never became from till the end. And at some point I'm like, where's the knowledge? How come they didn't put on feeling? But he didn't. They had a relationship. And he was a survivor, and they used all his, and then towards the very end, he said he stopped drawing, but he gave them all the illustrations that he ever did. Because this is basically how we used to live, this is our town, and he just never became from, you know, some people come from that's not feeling at 70, 75, and he just didn't. That was he reached his limit, you know, we don't know what happened.
Right, but a person who's angry, that is a manifestation of their faith. Because if you didn't believe, you wouldn't be angry. So it's just the faith is just coming out in a different way.
It's like people say, I'm believing Hashem, and I'm like, on Yom Kippur, they'll eat like pig meat or whatever. Obviously, they do believe in something, because if not, what is pig meat on this day? Like, what's so significant about that? I think they do believe, like they're just angry or whatever it is.
Right.
Because what's so significant about that day if you don't believe?
Right. If you believe that the world is a jungle and that everyone can do whatever they want, survival of the fittest, whatever it is, then there's no reason to be angry. What are you angry at? You know. But obviously, if you do believe in Hashem, and because you believe that Hashem could do anything, therefore you're so angry. But it was just the point of the story that I'm trying to bring out is that there's this concept of you could have your faith, or you could have your observance of Torah and mitzvahs, and everything fits into the box, and everything's perfect, and you go about your day serving Hashem every single day the same as the day before. But in order to have service means that you're able, that your faith or your mitzvahs or your Torah goes beyond what you skips, jumps to a completely higher level. And that, now we're going to go into the Parsha of the week, which is exactly what a continuation of of what we're saying, this concept of service, the concept of constantly growing, constantly moving, constantly striving, and not being satisfied with the status quo. And that's why, because of this teaching, that's why I really wanted to teach the chapter 15 of Tanya, because it's so connected. This week's Parsha, what is this week's Parsha? It's Matis and Masei. Masei, the translation of Masei is journeys. These are the journeys of the Jewish people. And it lists 42 stops in the journey of the Jewish people in the desert. So the question is, the whole emphasis of the entire Parsha is on the stops, the chaniyos, the encampment. Each encampment is unique. There was another thing that happened or transpired in each encampment. Why is the Parsha called journeys when the Parsha should be called encampments? That's the $1 million question. So there's a few answers that the Rebbe tries to give and refutes them, and ultimately we come to the answer. So the first answer is that in Parshas, in Chumash Shemais, at the end of Parshas Likkutei, there's a Rashi over there, and over there it says that when the Yidden in the encampment is included in the travel. But the Rebbe does not accept this. He says, what's the means and what's the end? The means is the traveling, and the end is the encampment. You're traveling towards a goal. So even if you want to say that the word journeys includes the encampment, why won't you just say what you mean? Why won't you just call the Parsha encampments if the focus is on the encampments in the Parsha? And if the goal is the encampment, the goal isn't the travel, and the travel is all the same. But between all the stops, the travel was the same. What's unique is the encampments. Why is the name of the Parsha encampments? Why is it journeys?
You don't have encampments without traveling. You gotta travel to have the encampments, no?
You have to travel to have the encampments, but again, what's the means and what's the end? The end, the goal is you're traveling towards to get a destination. We're not you get into the car, you're traveling. When are we going to be there? Right?
The journey is all the parts.
Right. So even if the journey is all the parts, and that's what Rashi says, even if the journey is all the parts, but why would you call the name of the Parsha journeys when in the Parsha itself what's being highlighted in the Parsha is the encampments, because it's telling us the favor that Hashem did for us, and although we had to wander in the desert for 40 years, most of the time we weren't wandering. Most of the time there were encampments.
Is it the effort and the toil and all the places that we had to go through to get to, like, we need to say, because journey is like a classic kind of word,
but also
it's all the steps that we had to go through.
In Hebrew, Masei means Mashal.
It's
right. So that's the question. Why is the name of the Parsha the encampments?
You know
that's
why?
What's added. The different steps. Yeah.
There is a difference in Hebrew between Masa and Chanaya. Masa, it means also hardship. So maybe they want us to show us it was not that easy in the desert. They needed to stop. They had 42 stations, so it was really hard for them. Masei means hardship.
Okay, that's an interesting point, but it's not.
And Chanaya means station. You station at the end, So maybe it shows more of the travel hardship in the desert for 42 stations. Need to stay there, to pass, and the challenges with each station and what they went through.
So again, the question is, if you open up the Parsha and you read the verses, it goes through all the places and what happened in each one. So why shouldn't the name of the Parsha be the encampments, the chaniyot? Because that's what it's talking about in the Parsha. The name
regular trip. This is hardship. Masei describe hardship, what they went through in the desert.
The fact that there were so many and they didn't.
And so many, 42.
And there should not have been so many.
But 42 stops over 40 years.
40 years, it's a lot.
But Hashem didn't want them to be in the desert for 40 years. They were only in the desert for 40 years because of their behavior.
Okay, but they
So
were.
That's the suffering.
Yeah,
They-
the suffering.
they-
Masei.
They have to go to so many more places before they reach their goal.
Okay, so then again, the name of the parsha should be places. The name of the parsha should be places. Why is it journeys?
Maybe.
Why you stickling on journey?
The encampments are like.
I don't have a problem with it.
I like it, Masei. At least I know the word.
You
Doing
want to have
something.
a means hope.
Exactly.
And in that word, there's the word kav, and kav, she said, is a line. And if you're constantly drawing a line to your circumstance, your challenge that you're in, you can't see outside of it, you're stuck in it. But if you draw a line from you to Hashem, then you always have your line, you always have hope. You always have, if your kav is always to Hashem, your line is always to Hashem, you always have hope, and you can see outside of your challenge or circumstance. So maybe each encampment is like a challenge in life, challenges that you go through. But it's really the journey, it's who you become at the end that matters. It's not the little stops along the way. It's the little stops that make you, but it's who you become through those stops type of thing.
Okay,
What is the
okay.
word journey in Hebrew?
Masa.
Masa.
Masei. So
Masei.
Masei is plural. Okay. So first question is, why is it called? Okay. So one, what Rashi says is that the word journeys includes the encampment, and the Rebbe slugs it up and he says the encampment is the main thing, and even if it includes it, still, why can't you just say encampment? And then the second, another interpretation, another suggestion that the Rebbe brings is that he says it's one long journey. The goal is to get you from Egypt to Israel. It's one long journey. So the main thing is the journey. Like you're saying, the main thing is the journey, not the stops. But the Rebbe says no, because if that was the case, the name of the parsha would be journey, not journeys. The fact that it's in plural should say Masa, one journey from Egypt to Israel, one journey. He says no, it can't be because it's Masei, which means journeys. So the Rebbe brings from the Baal Shem Tov, who says that that this whole parsha is a mashal for us, for our life. Going out of Egypt, that is birth, our birth. And then the 42 stops along the way is all the milestones, all the challenges, all the things that we go through in our life.
Journey of life.
The journey of life.
Journeys.
Journeys. And every person has different journeys. Some people is 42 stations. Some
Yeah.
people
Or you speak 12.
Exactly. It's so true.
To the point.
Yes,
Wow.
until we get to Israel.
Amazing.
So
Until
going,
we get
going to Israel, that would signify Olam Haba, Gan Eden.
Geulah.
Yeah, we'll see that in a minute. Okay, so he says, so the Baal Shem Tov said that this is the journey of life, or the journeys of our life, and therefore the name of the parsha is Masei. But then again, if we're talking about if we're saying that the 42 stops are 42 represent 42 challenges or milestones that we reach in our life, again, the name should be stops. Encampment. Talk about the encampment. Talk about the stops. Talk about the places, the milestones that we reach in our life. The birth, the bar mitzvah, the wedding, the whatever it is in your life. Let's focus on the encampments. That's what's focusing in the parsha, and each place where the Jews camped was another story, and even the places where the Jews angered Hashem. Even those places, each place had something in holiness that the Jews were able to attain. So again, it should be talking about, the name of the parsha should be encampments. We're talking about the different steps in our life, the challenges, the places, the situations that we end up in.
Maybe the journey is from each step, each encampment to the next one.
Okay.
That's where the growth is.
So the answer is that life is a journey.
Right.
Life is a journey, and the reason why the name of the parsha is journeys and not encampments is it's to tell you how to live your life, and that is in a way of travel. What does it mean to travel? Travel means you have to leave one place
And move to another
and go
place.
to another. In your life,
True.
this is your ceiling. I can only go up until here. I can only go until here. And there's walking, there's growth, incremental growth of walking, and then there's jumping. Walking, I'm walking up the steps. One foot is still on the first step, while the other foot's on the second step, but it's incremental growth. When you see, when you're raising your own baby, right? Day 1, day 2, day 3, you don't see the growth because every single day the baby is growing, but you don't see it because it's so small. Every single day, such a little bit of growth. But if you go away, if you have a relative that comes from a different country, didn't see your baby in a year or two, you come, oh wow, the baby grew so much, right? So there's 2 kinds of growth. There's growth a little bit at a time, and each time the little growth, it's connected to the previous growth. That's walking. But then there's something that's called jumping. When I jump from one stair to the other. I left the first step. That's the difference. That's what it means. A journey, when you travel, the emphasis of the word travel is that you uproot yourself from one place and you go to another place. So this is the lesson. This is the lesson for our life, that we cannot be satisfied. We cannot be satisfied with incremental growth, but we have to leap and go beyond anything that we could ever imagine. And even in life, sometimes we could fall, right? And there were places where the Jews angered Hashem. For example, there was a place where people had a desire for meat. The name of the place was called Kivras HaTaiva, which literally means, kever means a burial, where they buried, what happened over there? They buried the people that had a desire for meat. There were people, the Jewish people, one of the 42 stations, they desired meat.
What was it, because of the surroundings that they were in? What made the union, what made them have that, at that stop?
I don't know. They complained for meat. They said the man is not good enough. They complained for meat.
They want difference.
Hashem gave them meat. They ate the meat and they died.
Oh, what?
And they were buried.
Wow.
Those people were buried. They were buried there. They were buried there. So that's like horrible, right? Like how they angered Hashem, they died, they were buried. The place where the people that had this desire were buried. That seems like horrible, right? Like a downfall. But if you want to look at it from a holy perspective, right? In that, when a person, this refers to, in our service of Hashem, when a person reaches a level of chachma, where they attain this level of chachma, then they lose their desire and their passion for physical things, and they could bury their passions. They could bury their physical passions. So even the places that seem like terrible things happened, it was an opportunity. There was an opportunity there for spiritual growth. There's opportunity there for people. Right. But I'm saying, but I'm saying it refers to a place, a station in life where a person could reach a certain level of chachma, and that they're so connected to Hashem that they lose their desire for physical pleasure. So even the downs are just, you read the Tzarech Aliyah, it's a descent in order for an ascent. If you lose your, if you're again, that's the emotion. When the emotion is aligned with Hashem, that's a tzaddik or a tzaddik moment. And this all applies on a personal level, in our personal service of Hashem. That in our personal service of Hashem, that we have to always strive, not just for growth that's connected to the growth that's connected to the previous growth, but we have to take a leap. And if we have a burnout, if we feel burnt out, it doesn't mean that your entire life you have to do the same exact thing. If you feel burnout, leap to even forget. Even in a we learn from a Torah perspective. I'm just saying, if a person has burnout in a job, anyone would tell them, go find another job. Don't stay here. go leap to something else, try something else, go beyond, try for a new experience. Maybe you'll be successful in another field. Don't stay here. No one's gonna tell you, no one's gonna recommend that you should stay where you are. Try something new. The sky's the, I would say the sky's the limit, but the sky is not the limit. We have to keep going, but also not just in our personal life, but also as the entire Jewish people as a whole. The desert represents Golus, exile, and the 42 stops represents the stops in the desert, represents the challenges of exile. And where are we now when we're reading this Parsha, Parshas Masei? We're reading it on Rosh Chodesh Av, when we're starting the 9 days. So this is a lesson for us that we shouldn't be, when we're talking about the Churban and we're reflecting on all that we lost, we shouldn't get depressed. But rather we should know that we have the power. We have the power to jump, to leap, to grow. And anytime that there is a setback, even the setbacks, the whole purpose of Galus, the whole purpose of exile is only so that we should be able to come to a much greater ascent. Hashem didn't put us into Galus just to make us suffer. Hashem put us into Galus, like Hashem put us into Galus so that we should be able to reach a higher level. When the neshama is up in heaven, the neshama is perfect. Why mess? Don't leave the neshama. It's sparkling clean. What do you need to bring it down to this world for? Challenge it for. But the point is that the neshama comes on Yerida L'Tzarech Aliyah. Yes, it's a descent. Yes, Galus is a descent. Yes, there are times in the 42 steps that we angered Hashem. But it's also that we should come to a greater place. We should come to a greater connection. There's a rope. It's severed. Then when you tie it back up, when you tie the two pieces together, the rope becomes shorter. You become closer to Hashem. The whole point is to become closer. So yes, there was a Churban, and yes, there was tragedies, and yes, there was a Holocaust, and yes, but all that was not to hurt us. It was ultimately, yes, it was a Yerida. Yes, it was a descent, but the whole purpose is that we should come closer and higher and jump and reach way beyond anything that we could ever imagine, that we have, because we have a neshama, because we're Tzelem Elokim, we have infinite power, and we have to realize that although we think that we're limited, and I could do this and I can't do that and I can't go beyond, but we truly have the power to be an Oved, to be the level of a Beinonim who's constantly serving and striving and moving, and not just moving and walking, but moving in a way of traveling, in a way of uprooting yourself from one place to reach a higher place. And as much as we do, and tomorrow when we reach the new place, again you have to travel. Uproot yourself from one place and go to another place. And you could say, why bother? Why? I'm perfect, I'm fine. Why should I give myself more challenges? Why should I try further? Because it's not about me. It's not about me. It's not about me and what I achieve, but our job is to constantly to serve Hashem, and serving, that we should constantly be serving Hashem. So therefore, I can never be satisfied with where I am, because we have to constantly be serving. We have to constantly be striving. We have to try new waters, even if we're risking a descent. But every descent is ultimately for an ascent. Ultimately, it will take us to a greater place.
I have a question. Wow. Sorry, my ignorance. Why is it 42 and not 40?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. I don't know why specifically 42, but we'll have to. That's a great question. I'll have to look into it. Okay.
I'm sure there is a reason. I'm sure there is a reason.
Yes.